Yeah, so yeah, like I was saying, I basically don't have a job, so it's just like job hunting and then I trade. Um, but effectively, like now what I do is I like try to trade once a day. Like if I just
Hmm.
trade once a day, that's like a great day, especially when I hit
Yeah.
my daily goal. And so like last night, I basically made the most amount of money I made in a trade before, and I was just like, oh shit. I was
Oh,
like,
coming off a win, man. Love to hear it.
yeah, I was actually, it's funny because I was down in the trade a lot.
That's
And
how it goes.
within a minute it flipped. I was
Yeah.
like,
No, because we're about to start talking trading, man. So I traded futures for a while just because
I do
it
that too.
doesn't have the limits of the stocks market, right? And it's 24/7, although I do hear they're about to make the stock market 24/7. But anyways, that's how it goes. Like my best trades or where I made the most were off of ones that like I was negative. I was in the red for a while, and I'm like, but especially if you're trading vehicles like more predictable vehicles, let's say the S&P, right?
Hmm.
You know that by and large it's going to trend upwards and to the right.
Right.
So if you're ever like, I just think if I'm trading something that mimics the S&P or closely follows it, I know eventually I'm going back up is the thing. So it's like just based off of that principle alone, you can you can, um ride out some of the red periods knowing that you're gonna come back eventually, right? And that's pretty much just what happened with and those were again some of the biggest like because it would get red and I've heard some people hate this, some people advise it, but I would, average down. I'd be like, yeah, it's in the red, but it's gonna come back up, so might as well put more into it while it's low. and and that's what I would do for a while. And then whenever it would finally come back up again, just because for safer, more predictable ones like the S&P, yeah, man, those wins are incredible. So
Yeah. Yeah. So
happy for you.
I do yeah, thanks, man. I do NASDAQ future.
Okay.
Um
Futures, yeah, man. That's
and
where it's at.
it's funny because I've uh, since Juneteenth I've been hitting with the week of Juneteenth. So from Wednesday to Wednesday, I was doing like 70% win of my trades. Um,
Wow.
yeah, and I was literally trading at I trade best at night, which is like between um between 12:30 to I'll say 2:30 Eastern Standard Time. Sometimes I'll trade like 3 o'clock if I'm up and I don't see my move.
hmm
I'll wait for the London because London that's when like more liquidity comes in. And so
hmm
but yeah, it's like I try to trade at night. So I trade at night, and then if I do good on my trade, then I wake up late in the morning. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I would like a reward for myself. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah, I can see like at night, depending right on the kind of person you are, but typically it's kind of like early morning vibes when no one else is awake and you're kind of, I guess, more focused for that reason. Um, yeah, it depends on the person. Like I sometimes pass out by 10 p.m., but other times if I'm up late at night, then I'm up late and I'm in the zone, and so I could feel that, Um, no, that's good. I think with futures too, even though they trade 24/7, it's less, volatile during those hours versus during
yeah,
regular business hours. So
yeah. And I tried the Asian Open, but it moves. The Asian Open moves too slow for me. But the pre-London,
mm,
it's like just right. Like
okay.
the NQ basically would moves like a Dow Jones during pre-London.
Yeah.
Because there's a little bit more liquidity, but not quite like that of like London. And London pretty much is not the same, but as far as liquidity, a lot closer to the New York Open. But sometimes in
hmm
London, you get a big move like it's New York Open. Doesn't happen as often, but sometimes you can get a parabolic move
Yeah.
in London, which is what I caught this morning. I caught a parabolic move. Um,
Okay.
it's like you can't really predict that shit though. Like
Yeah.
I have one setup, and that setup just it works in any time zone. I just have to change my target based on the liquidity. So I go for shorter targets in lower liquidity markets and more contracts, right? Um,
Hmm.
so when I did my I look at swing points. So then one swing point was formed, and I try to have my stop loss as close to the third or the previous swing point than the one that's already formed me because it's like baked in. I'm locking in a price that's essentially protected, right?
Yeah.
So I put in my trade. I was like, oh shit, that shit was like negative. It was like negative. I was like, damn, oh shit, this is a bad trade. and and then all of a sudden when three hit, 3 o'clock, got into the trade at 2:59 AM, 2:58. And then soon as 3 a.m. hit was that new 4 hour cycle,
Okay.
it just went the other direction. Like
Hmm.
I was like, whoa. I was like, oh snap. And I had to was counting my different levels. And I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, let me bring my stop loss. I brought my stop loss like so high. I was like, fuck that. I'm not losing this. I'm not losing this amount of money. But I moved it to where it protected about a quarter of my money effectively. Because you gotta
Okay.
let it breathe. And then the
Yeah.
first contract got executed. And then the second contract got executed. And I was like, yeah, I'm done for today. I'm like, I'm good. It was
Yeah, man.
like a
Trade
roller
while
coaster.
you're ahead. That's
Yeah,
what's up.
yeah. So
So you said 3 a.m. That's when London opens.
yeah, 3 a.m. Is when the London opens. Yeah,
And so is that why like things were like started happening around that time?
yeah.
Or did you
That's
say it was 4 a.m. where things kind of reversed?
uh. So 3 a.m. So there's different. You probably know this too. There's different cycles, different time cycles in the stock market, right? There's like
Yeah.
the 4 hour. There's the main ones I look at are the 4 hour and the 1 hour and the 15 minute. Those are the cycles
Yeah.
I pay attention to. And so at 3 o'clock is the start of the new 4 hour um
Okay.
of the new 4 hour cycle. And so yeah, so I like you kind of have to be careful with those new cycles because if you can really get wicked out of a position. But I was pretty confident that I was going to hit my target because I'm like everything the swing points follow the trend line that I like to see. And it's at this point it's pattern matching. So I'm like,
Yeah.
yeah, it could go against me at 3 o'clock, but I was like, I don't think it is because it's like and I just held it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, three. I typically don't stay up that late because it's just kind of I don't like staying up that late because then I don't want to I like to get out of bed at least by like 9:30 if I win my trade that night before, so
Yeah.
or
Yeah. At
about
that point, it's so late that it's early. So
mm-hmm. Yeah, man, that's cool. How did you get into trading?
um I dabbed a little bit a few years ago just out of curiosity, but I think I used like I set up like a Robinhood account and then like Webull, did some stocks, and basically I was too broke for anything like legit to happen. I was like, okay, this is cool, but like I'm not really putting. I don't have the money to make money, so I
Yeah.
was like, all right, whatever. But then my dad kind of resurfaced the whole thing recently and took me with him to some trading classes that oh man, I think it's called Trading Academy or something. So we did like a whole like it was like we were there for a whole weekend. It was like 2 days back to back, like 8 hours a day of just like drilling us, right? And basically what I took away from that, of course, for all that, they had a whole sale at the end, like, oh, like for this low price, you can join us and we'll help you trade for X year. So like my dad, well, whatever. He did end up going with that one of their deals. Um, I don't know how it's going right now, but I was like, I think from this 2 day intensive, I've learned enough to go and paper trade and just practice that and get good on my own. So that's what I did. It is from there that I learned about futures, right, and just like how much um, more accommodating they are of the budget. But then also that they're 24/7 and all the other stuff, right? They don't have all the rules. So um, set up some future trades in Thinkorswim. classic, and practiced a bit in the course of 4 months. I made I used so Thinkorswim set us up with like $100,000 in an IRA and $100,000 in I forgot what they called the other one. I think it was just like, I don't know, retail or something.
Yeah.
And using 100K, I made 40K in 4 months, right? So that was pretty good.
That's good.
Just going raw and just kind of practicing on my own. And I think I've nailed down pretty solid strategy. Um, and even what to do in certain situations, right, based off of the vehicle, that like what I had mentioned earlier. So I'm looking forward to getting some actual money, hopefully, and trying that out, and then and reaping some real rewards because it was all paper money. So,
Yeah.
but yeah,
Yeah. That's good, man. One day at a time.
one day at a time, man.
The thing about trading with people, a lot of people don't say it's like, you can make a lot of money. Um, but you have to accept that you're going to lose a lot of money too.
Oh yeah.
It's taken me like 3 years to come to that. And so it was this guy I was watching. His name is ICT. And I use some of ICT's trading principles, not all, but some of them influence my setup. Um, and he basically said, and Wall Street Trapper says this too, but you have to accept the fact that you're going to lose, right? So, like to I did two trades on Sunday and lost both of them, right? And I'm like, crap, I'm going to sleep, right? Um, and so the old me would have been like, I got to get my money back. I'm a revenge trade, get my money back, but I didn't. I just accepted the loss. And then today I did my trade. Well, like 2:59, in the morning, and then I hit, and I'm like, and it actually was 2x the loss that I had yesterday.
Well, yeah, because ideally, if you're doing these things right, um, you're setting your stop losses, but you're setting your targets are going to be, two times, three times the window of your stop losses, right? So whenever you do hit it, it's set up to kind of like how if we go into it, but kind of like how venture and angel investors work, right? So that whenever you hit, it's so much more than it makes up for all your losses, right? That's kind of the goal. But
Yeah, so like my standard target is basically I go for a 10 to 1. Um,
yeah.
but I usually hit about a like $3.33 to 1. Um,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I think on average I was around 3 to 1, and but ideally, yeah, 10 to 1 for sure.
yeah, 10 to 1 is I think that's what I did today. I think I basically did almost a 10 to 1. Those are rare though.
Yeah.
Those are like super rare, you know what I'm saying? And when
Hmm.
you have like those when I hit close to full target, no, I did actually no, it was probably today I probably did it was probably like an 8 to 1, come to think about it.
Hmm.
One contract hit full target, the other one was like a couple off. But you actually get like a jolt of what's the not adrenaline, but gosh, is it not serotonin, dopamine? Like when those trades hit, especially when you basically, and that's the thing you're really regulating, right? And so that's where
Hmm.
rules are really important because like when I lost those two trades on Sunday, I felt really mad. Like it's a very emotional response, right? And so
Yeah.
making sure I have the same response when I win or lose, that's like that's like really been the game changer for me. Like
It's a very
controlling.
emotional game.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's cool, bro.
Yeah, man. Well, you just kind of re-inspired me. I think I don't want to take too much time off of it, so I'm probably gonna at least get back into some paper trading. But yeah, I've got all my money right now is just going towards surviving in the startup. So
Yeah, and what I would say to people, like for me, trading. isn't something I do. I don't do it for like fulfillment, right? Like it doesn't. It's to me, it's not like going on vacation or whatever, right? Or it's not like it doesn't bring me like personal enjoyment, right? It
Mm,
doesn't really feed my spirit, but I think trading is great as that toolkit. Um, because you can make money using it in any type of weather, like any type of environment,
right.
right?
Yeah.
And like I think
Yeah.
it's
Just its independence. Yeah.
exactly, yeah, yeah. Like I do my podcast for fun, you know what I'm saying?
Hmm.
Like, but I do the trading to make money. So
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
I feel that.
yeah. So cool. Yeah, let's get into it. So yeah. What's up, world? My name is Corey. Stay trapping with Trap Talks, where we discuss the intersection of culture and tech. And today I have a special guest, Godson, Katy, Texas native. I guess you can say Houston native as well. Kind of
We'll
right.
get
So
into that.
really quick about Godson, and feel free to add anything that I miss. You're the founder of Quickgredients, which is the app to help diners who need specific dietary needs to actually filter in and find restaurants that fit their needs, right? So if you are Muslim and you only eat a halal type of meat, you'll be able to filter that in and find locations that um that can cater specific to your needs. Full-time IT tech camps, lead academy instructor, and was the former product manager intern at Publicis Sapient. So you got a lot of stuff here. Was there anything else you wanted to add?
Let's see. Yeah, so Quick Ingredients helps people with dietary needs find dishes. We're a dish matching platform. So it's one of our differentiators is we want to help you not just point you in the direction of where you can eat, but show you what you can eat. Like what on their menu matches your suits your dietary needs. And we do need to get some more. I'll be getting some more halal places on there, but we have a few. I'm actually visiting one today. And but yeah, I used to work as a product manager. I'm actually the chief product officer of Quick Ingredients for that reason. Um, because that's the field that I'm most familiar with and that I enjoy the most, right? So it's the intersection of technology, design, and business. And I'm an artist. I love tech. I built the app Quick Ingredients, and then also I've been exposed to and becoming more familiar with how uh, the business of all of these products and the market and um, understanding how like to provide value and push a business forward works. So that's kind of the gist of that.
Yeah, yeah. Um, so yeah, so we were talking about trading, and there's one thing that I wanted to touch on. I probably was thinking about touching on later, but you mentioned how when you started trading and you learned about risk reward ratios, you realized why VCs and angels go for the type of multiples that they do. So can you tell me a little bit more about that? Like how did that epiphany just come to you? Like, oh wow, these VCs and angels are actually trading like me, except there's some nuances there. But yeah, tell me more. Tell us more.
Sure. Yeah. In this process, I've learned a lot about as a founder. My number one job really is fundraising, right? And that's kind of where I'm at right now. I'm full blown pre-seed, going out and gonna start pitching soon. I've already done some pitching. I graduated in the accelerator, but in any case, in the process, I've learned about what the people I'm pitching to, what they're looking for, right, and how to pitch to them. And the kind of brass tacks of it all is they are trading. Yeah, very much like it's very much like trading, right? They are, no one has a crystal ball, so they're taking bets on like we would put an investment in something and just take a bet, and but we would take calculated bets, right? Ideally you're not just putting your money into any old vehicle or any old stock or future or what have you, just like angels and VCs, right? They are their calculations are basically that if I put my money into this vehicle, they want to make sure that it can yield 3 or Well, angels are probably looking for me to 3 to 10x exit in terms of how much money they're putting in, and then how much, of course, the startup is going to make, I guess, annually. So, but then VCs I hear are looking for more like 100x, right? So, but and so that's how it works is, very much, and that's because a majority of what they invest in, a majority of the startups they invest in fail, right? Or just like in our case, I guess the majority of the stocks or futures that we might put our money in will probably take some losses on, right? Or get stop lossed out. So you make sure. I was talking with Corey about it earlier. Like I typically when I put, let's say I put $10 in a future. Um, no, let's say I put some money in a future, right? I make sure that, okay, if I anticipate if I put my stop loss at 10, would it be $10? Yeah, $10 below that entry point, then I'm putting my target at $30 above it, right? At least I'm looking for at least a 3-to-1 ratio on my return, right? And so for these um, angel investors and VCs, they're doing the same thing, right? They're putting in a certain amount of money. And I guess in this case, that's their stop loss is the money they're putting in because that's what they're losing. Um, right? Can they lose more than they put in? I'm gonna have to think about that for a little bit. I guess if depending on the time that they enter your startup, yeah, the time that they invest, if your valuation decreases or increases, so yeah, I guess they could technically, but yeah, that's how it works, right? And then they're basically betting on hey, I'm gonna actually make 10 times, 100 times the amount of money I'm putting in, um, based on the potential or the traction or the what else do they look for? Revenue that the startup is currently achieving at the time of investment. So
Yeah, yeah. So realizing that perspective, right? How did that change how you approach fundraising, or when you're interacting with angels and VCs? When you came to that realization, how did that change how you position Quick Ingredients?
it's a different game for VCs versus angels. I think to summarize it though, it's definitely all about risk, right? In terms of being related to trading.
Hmm.
You want to make sure that when you're pitching them, that you're showing them that there is minimal risk in their investment by investing in you. And that how do you show them that you've kind of de-risked their investment? That's by showing them traction. And I'm sorry, I'm probably gonna hate that word by the end of the year, but that's really the name of the game, right? Is that traction shows that this is going well and it's probably going to continue going well. And so my investment is likely to yield the returns that I am seeking or hoping for, right? There's little risk when there's a lot of traction or revenue. If you're already making, and honestly, in my personal opinion, if you are making significant revenue or even a little revenue, but you can scale it, you probably don't need to be pursuing VCs because VCs are a real headache. Um, if you can avoid VCs, and people will echo this, right? If you can avoid VCs and you already have revenue, then try to bootstrap or maybe get a few angel investors to get you to where you need to be. But in any case, yeah, like de-risking. And then I guess what I mentioned earlier about the difference between angels and VCs is that in my approach is that with angels you can approach them a little bit more um on your vision, right? Or your idea, the potential of it. You can sell them a little bit more on that. VCs less so, right? VCs are more about numbers and um yeah, traction. So
So how does one go about figuring out, okay, I don't need to raise money versus, hey, I have this idea that needs to raise money. Like what was that? How do founders kind of deal with that question? Because that's what I've seen. You kind of pointed at it is that a lot of I know when I first moved to the Bay Area, um, that seemed like the first path that every founder wanted to take. Now I'm seeing more of a mixed bag, I guess, because of the interest rate environment. But what are some questions that founders should ask themselves to see if it actually makes sense to go with a VC, go with an angel, or do neither, or do both?
Yeah, well, it's really just first you gotta assess your costs, right? So, and to assess your costs, um, I guess, yeah, if you want to price your product, you first need to determine how much it costs to sell it. And not just to sell it, right? Well, all of these things are involved in selling it, but marketing it, creating it, distributing it. Um, and so there's really just a lot of customer and market research that it goes involved in that goes into determining your costs. But once you have that, then you have to I guess determine, okay, I guess, what are the costs that will be associated in 1 year, for example, or in 2 years. And when you have that number in terms of your goals, then it just comes down to, okay, yeah, like, is it, $100,000 or is it $1 million or more, right? And um if you have no revenue, then you probably need a fundraise. Or if you don't have a job, right, and you just, if you have no means of bootstrapping, then you need a fundraise. But if you feel like you can bootstrap, right, let's say it's 100K and you've got a job, or it's 100K and you're making a little revenue for some customers, then don't go VC, right? Definitely don't go VC. I think VC is a last resort. For people, because what you end up having is, um, these crazy, I don't want to say crazy, but these demands that are very steep, um, and typically are accelerated. Like, they VCs want their returns typically on a faster timeline or time frame than, and they're just less patient than angel investors. So, um, yeah, I don't know if that was a little long winded, but that's the gist of it.
No, that's good. Because I was just pulling up some stuff, but I've heard estimates that up to 75% of VC backed companies fail, meaning they don't return any type of like capital to the initial investors. And then I've seen estimates as low as 25 to 30%, which I guess kind of gives a take if you count companies that are bellying up but are able to sell their assets to where the investors are at least break even or getting something on the dollar, right? So how so when you look at the VC market here in Houston, right, in Angel, how would you describe it? Do you would you and what industries do they tend to kind of lean in based on your early um outreach that you've been doing?
Hmm. Um. So I think the Houston investor market is trying to be more accessible. Um. I think even, really across the board, I think a lot of VCs are, well, okay. What I'm seeing more is late stage startup investment for VCs. And so that's another, I guess, tactic they're taking to de-risk their investments is, okay, like, they'll invest in a startup after it's already, um, raised a few rounds, and that's another way of basically proving traction, or proving your market, etc.
Right.
So, um, that's happening across the board. But as far as Houston, um, I honestly, I can't speak too much to the VC realm yet, because that's just not where I'm looking or where I'm operating personally. probably down the line. But right now, I'm in a pre-seed stage, so I'm definitely just raising from friends and family and angels, right? Primarily, I have done one accelerator, and we've applied to some VC accelerators. So like you know, you get in their program in exchange for some equity, and they'll give you an investment, at least 100K or more. Um, but even those, even though they're technically VC, it's still at the pre-seed stage, and so um, I guess depending on their investment size, they could still just qualify as organized angel investors. But um, yeah, I think as far as the angel investors in Houston, you kind of need to know where to go to find them. I don't know if they are as easily or readily accessible. Um, but and that's the thing, right? It's a relationship, just like picking my co-founder, right? Is a relationship. When you have an investor on your cap table, that's a relationship that you're gonna have to well, first of all, to get them, right, you gotta court them and all of that. And then once you do, ideally get their investment, keep them in the loop. They now have, stake in your business, and so their opinions will matter. Um and and that's for the lifetime of your business. So it's a relationship for as long as your business is running. um, yeah, so I think knowing those things and giving it the due diligence and patience, um, and then yeah, I guess knowing where to find them. I think as far as the Angels, I mean, there's literally an organization called Houston Angel right Network, right? It's a hand. So I'm pretty sure if you just Google angel investors in Houston, they'll show up. So like you can find them pretty easily, but go to their events, meet them. You got to do the extra work um, in order to, even have those relationships. And that's just how everything goes. So, but I think it's there. Um, I was at this panel the other day where people were comparing, I guess, more to your question, investors in Silicon Valley versus Houston. And I think the investors in Silicon Valley are surprisingly um a little bit, they're more founder friendly because there are so many, the game is just so big and so established there that founders have more power in Silicon Valley because they know that if they take their pitch to one investor, um and that investor, they don't there's any if there's anything that they don't even like about that investor, not even that that investor doesn't like them, but if there's something they don't like about that investor, like there's another one right down the block, right? Because there's so many, the market is just so huge there. There's so many investors, there's so many founders, and the balance is a little bit more even. But when you start to get out of places like that and places to where it's I guess there's just, it's not as big of a gamer market like Houston, or man, even some way smaller cities than Houston, then the investors have, more power. They tend to be less founder friendly, just appropriate word to use appropriate words, um, and yeah, like it's definitely kind of a different game. Um, so I know that like people, for example, often you know will fly out and meet investors in Silicon Valley or maybe New York or Seattle, where it's slightly more even, just because they have better odds there, they have better conversations, and it's, I guess, saves them some of the hassle of dealing with the investors in their city or in their area. So
Yeah.
um, I can't say that Houston's all down and bad, but um, there's definitely still a kind of a power imbalance for sure, as far as the investors and the founders in Houston. So
Yeah, yeah, and I think also from my experience living in Cali, you're dealing with a higher cost of living, right? And so the fact that
Mm,
you're dealing with a higher cost of living, then the investors have to be more risk adverse, effectively, right?
mm.
And a lot of them used to be founders or used to work in tech, so they understand the
That
language
as well. Yeah.
to. And I'm making like a very general statement here, but this is kind of like from having conversations with VCs, and looking at like different famous VCs who've done like their own podcasts. A lot of them are industry experts in what they invest in. So for them,
Mm-hmm.
it's less about, obviously they're doing it so they can get the 100x returns, but oftentimes their investments align with the way they see the world going, right? Um,
Mm-hmm.
like I think a good example, if you look at like a lot of what Elon Musk, invests in and the investors that follow him, it's effectively the PayPal mafia, which reinvests in him a lot, right? But again, they all used to work in tech. They understand, their level of risk, their risk, they're less risk adverse than someone here in Houston, you know, who hasn't had that breadth of like tech knowledge or experience. So, um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, and the high interest rate environment now, I think, has also changed a lot of stuff too, right? I
Yeah.
think, because 10 years ago, I mean, or even just what, 4 years ago before the pandemic, like cash was just so free flowing.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of people raised money who didn't have any revenue. And like in the Bay, it was almost a bad thing to be making revenue or raising money because it's like, oh, you just made that amount, right? So
Mm-hmm.
I think now the dynamics have changed, right? Because now it's less about necessarily the tech. It's more about, are you building a sound business where the unit economics actually make sense, right? So
Yeah.
but it also gives a take what you're building, right? Like if you're trying to build a spaceship company, then you're going to need to fundraise. If
Right.
building your app, right? Um, it's probably less of a upfront investment because it's more around the go-to-marketing strategy. Like how can you quickly acquire, users who fit your persona at
Mm-hmm.
scale effectively, right? Um,
Exactly.
and the funny thing is, I forgot, I wish I had this article, but they said that most of the money raised by VCs, and it was looking at that time period, it went to Google, um, it went to Facebook, and then named somebody else. Basically, your whatever your big ad networks were, they're basically saying that
Mm-hmm.
most of your VC revenue actually went to the big companies, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
they didn't have companies tend not to have, this is a broad statement from what I've seen, but usually having low customer acquisition costs, that's a very hard problem. And if you can have low customer acquisition costs, there's less money you spend on ads. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's quite interesting with things changing.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's what we're essentially forced to do right now, right? Is be creative about our CAC, right? And our marketing campaigns. Um, so we're not just pouring dollars into ad revenue, or not into Google ads, Facebook ads, but we're actually so for example, we're thinking of, okay, giving people, money, and then having these interviews, like reactions, right, and everything, and then posting that, right, their reactions. Um, but in so doing, right, the requirement to get this, dine out with your friend on us, you just gotta. We built in like uh you could share a dish and it'll lead to like this browser page, so you don't need the app to see it, but you share your dish with you share your dish on like social media, so a lot of people see it. That browser page will market the dish to the restaurant, but also have a link to download our app and to our website, right? And then we've got like a point, like I built in like a point system for referrals and all that. So like we've got to be creative about how we market and get the word out there about our product, um, with little to no revenue, right? Right
Yeah,
now. And so sometimes that's the good thing about um, having no money up front, is it allows you to be more um, cost effective or more smart about your strategies.
Yeah, and I was when you was talking, I was looking for it's one of my favorite product books. It's called Hooked.
Okay.
Basically how to build better products. Um,
Hmm.
but he talked in there about he talked in there using gamification, but also the last chapter is like geared towards making sure when you are building apps that you're also thinking about what's the potential negatives of it, right? And I think that's like when you was talking about you're building in the gamification piece. Um,
Hmm.
I've seen a lot of apps be successful with gamification, but you also gotta like, because again, you're playing with dopamine, right? So, um,
Hmm.
and but yeah, that's cool that you're thinking about doing that. Or like, I think it makes complete sense. Like when I go out to eat the restaurants, like all of them are using some form of point system, right? So
Right.
you gotta, in Houston, right? Like me and my fiance talk about this a lot, but fiance, Houston has the most happy hours I have ever seen in any other place in my life.
Yeah.
Every day. So it's like in order to compete here, you gotta have a happy hour, and you know what I'm saying? So
Hmm.
yeah.
Got to play the game.
Yeah, yeah. So tell us like how did you come up with the idea for quick ingredients? Well, what inspired that?
I kind of all started when I tried transitioning to a more plant-based diet. Um, I had watched this documentary on Netflix called Game Changers. I don't know if you've heard of it or seen it, but um, kind of brought to light some of the, I guess, health risks of, um, I guess, let's just say a plant-less diet, or maybe a strictly meat-based diet or whatever have you. Um, And so it really just whole foods in general, right, are ideal to eat. So are more healthy. So some of those risks involved like, diseases, but as well as cognitive functioning down the line. And I was like, all right, well, let me try to be a vegetarian for a bit. And some existing products out there, like Happy Cow, is pretty popular for vegetarians and vegans. Um, it'll show you where you can eat. It'll show you what restaurants are vegan or vegetarian, but it wouldn't really show you what was on their menu that was vegan or vegetarian, or whether you would like it, right? Maybe some restaurants could be entirely vegan or vegetarian. Others could maybe have one, two dishes that are vegetarian or vegan, right? So you wouldn't know, and you would have to do a little bit more digging to figure that out. So that was one of the inspirations of Quickgredients was okay. Let's show people what they can eat, not just where they can eat. Um, and then from there, again, since it started with a plant based thing, but I found out that my roommate was allergic to shellfish. And so that exposed me or introduced me to the world of food allergies and the different symptoms people can have, and the severity of the symptoms, right? And that's based off of cross contamination, right? So my roommate in particular um, can't even like you know be in an area that has shellfish at all. Even if it doesn't touch his food, he can't smell it, anything like that, right? So it's pretty strict for him. Versus for other people, it may not be as severe. Gluten free is another huge one, or in celiac. So I learned a lot more about the food allergies. And then my mom is diabetic, so there's not a lot of things that consistently show you like right now, it's becoming more common to be able to see the calories of a dish on a restaurant menu. They'll typically, ideally, put the calories there. Not even typically, but um, I think it's maybe I don't know if we're even at a majority of restaurants that'll show the calories, but it's becoming more common.
Right.
Um, but yeah, you'll that's all you'll see, right? You won't see really much anything else beyond the calories, and so we there are a few restaurants that I've found now just in this experience that have a separate menu of nutrition facts ready to show to consumers when you walk in. One of them is First Watch, a little shout out to them, and I think another one might be Original Chop Shop. But Oh, salada is another one too. But yeah, by and large, restaurants won't show you more than calories, right? And so for someone who's diabetic like my mom to see the sugar content, or uh this other lady, I was speaking on a panel the other night, and there was a lady who her mom had passed away, and she had a chronic kidney condition, and they are concerned with the potassium levels of what they eat. And even now, after we've been able to find some restaurants and display the nutrition facts for dishes, potassium in particular is rarely measured or calculated. So um, for that reason alone, we're building in like a homemade nutrition facts calculator. So and we're improving its accuracy. I'm working on that. When I say we, I really mean me. I'm the only engineer right now. So, but I do have a team, but I'm the only one building stuff. So um, I'm trying to make all of these things available for people, because dining out should be an experience that anyone can enjoy, and it should not be ridden with anxiety and uncertainty and fear. And so that's what or yeah, I'll say we want to bring to the world. And so, yeah, with Quickgredients, I'm not just showing people what they can eat, but I'm also showing them, right? Well, in showing them what you can eat, it's not just catering to your, food allergies, but we're showing you like their processes behind them, right? So we show people cross contamination measures that uh, food businesses take. Um, so if you can see if that meets your standards, or have a better idea, and know whether to go there or whether to call them and check first, right? But just kind of easing or simplifying the process, accelerating the process, saving you time and research. Um, and then also showing you, of course, I mentioned nutrition facts, right? Whatever we can uh, obtain. Right now, we've obtained a lot of nutrition facts from restaurants themselves, just because we're still improving our homemade calculators. So we don't want to use that just yet, until we're pretty confident in its accuracy. So right now, yeah, we're just obtaining nutrition facts from restaurants that have already calculated them, or other sources that have calculated them for restaurants. And that's all people like my mom, right, who's diabetic, or others who have certain health conditions, or if you're just an athlete or a fitness person or a health enthusiast, right, and you're concerned, or you want to track your macros, for those people as well, right? So that's our customer persona, our market, and our audience, and we're hoping to make dining more sustainable and transparent, and inclusive in that venture. So.
Yeah, that's really cool. Like diet is just like so important. I remember I learned that exercise is great, but you can only lose with so much weight or body fat from working out. Um you're going to get one of your largest percentage fat loss from not eating stuff, like eating the right
Mhm.
stuff, like leafy greens, fiber, and all that good stuff. Um, because I do a lot of like working out. I do MMA for training. And so before I go to class the day before, I'm already have to be thinking like, okay, I know I can't consume alcohol, or let me just have one drink 24 hours, literally 24 hours before I go to class. Um,
Mhm.
I know I need to increase my water intake, right? So that
Mhm.
I'm hydrated, especially, training here in Houston is so humid. In the gym,
Yeah.
we don't have an AC, which is on purpose.
Mm. Yeah,
Um,
right.
but it definitely, if you're not eating eating right, you're going to all these brokers, you're not going to survive that class. So it's like, your diet is just very goes without saying, but your diet is like very, very important. Um, so one thing I want to ask that just kind of came to me, how do you think global warming will impact our relationship with food over time? I guess the first question is, do
Mm.
you believe in global warming? If you do, how do you see that, impacting our diets in the future?
Interesting. I can't say I'm very learned on the topic. I do know that there's certainly an environmental factor in all of this, right? And the agriculture and where we source our whole foods. Um, right now in the U.S., I think unfortunately we eat a lot of very processed foods, and that's what's just made available by and large. Um, and I correct me if I'm wrong. So yes, I believe in global warming. If with global warming, I imagine like farming and agriculture and basically our ability um to get whole foods and ingredients will decrease. Um, I imagine they'll become less bountiful or plentiful, and we already have these things they call food deserts, right? A lot of places in the U.S., and I think that will just be exacerbated, and probably spread even more. And so, but I think in that entire process, people will, for better or for worse, develop more of an appreciation for for whole foods and for these. Um, Basically, it's kind of like what's it called? You don't know what you got till it's gone, or something. There's or some better way of putting that, right? But like, we'll come to understand that, oh man, like, um, we had it good, and or we had an opportunity to eat a lot better, and now, it's so I think the food deserts will become exacerbated because with that increased value or appreciation of whole foods and ingredients, um, they'll just become more expensive and more rare, right? And even harder to get to. And that'll I mean, I don't know, it just sounds really apocalyptic. but
Yeah.
but yeah.
Yeah, so I think what's going to happen, similar to what you're saying, I think that we're going to have less land, and I think that's what you were getting at. Food is going to be
Okay.
less accessible.
Yeah. Hmm.
Um, I also think what's going to happen, I think it's going to force us as a society, as a global society, to take our diet more serious, right? So
Yeah.
if you're in a hotter environment, you're like, well, I want to eat
That's
that
right.
steak.
Yeah.
I'm not going to eat this steak. I'm gonna wait, right? Until the night or whatever, right? Because it's so hot here. I don't want to have
Hmm.
much red meat. So
More extreme weather.
I think it will force our diets and appetites to change. Um,
Hmm.
I think like I said, I think it'll be like a big adjustment. And like you, I foresee the foods that now are, do you know how like you go to the grocery store and produce section in the beginning of the year, and I'm like, you can never find any berries. I know for me it's like I can't find raspberries, I can't find blueberries, and I'm like, who's eating this like throughout the
Hmm.
year normally, right? And then the minute February hits, all of a sudden I can find everything, right? So
Right.
I think that trend will be more pronounced throughout the year where people are
Yeah.
like, oh, I think the produce section, because of global warming, I can't put a time on it. So, but I
Hmm.
can foresee it, the produce section being as as heavily coveted as a potato chip aisle, right? So, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, man. And even
yeah.
just staying hydrated, right? Water, the water that we need for ourselves, but even for the plants and for the whole foods. And even we're gonna continue to eat animals, I'm sure, but even to for the animals, like water is gonna become crazy, like gold, and that, man, are we talking Dune now or?
I don't know, but it's there's a stock ETF that's for water. There was three of them that I've actually looked at,
Wow.
and
Yeah.
they one of them, like I think it's called CGW. I think it's gone up over time.
Hmm.
Let me look it up. But yeah, I think it's pretty much. Let me look over a 5 year chart. Yeah, like over the past 5 years, it's been up 44%.
Wow.
Um, yeah,
In just
it,
5 years. Yeah.
yeah. In 2020, it had dropped as low as $29.
Hmm.
That because of the pandemic, a lot of stocks dropped. Um,
Hmm.
so from 2020, it went from in 2020 it was $29.54, and today it's $54.75.
Wow.
So that's yeah. So
Yeah.
I've actually thought about like putting something like that in my portfolio. Um,
Yeah.
because it's like, I've had this question within myself, like, is it good to make money on bad things? But it's like these bad things are going to harm you anyway. You might as well leverage them, right? Depending on what it is, right? So
Yeah. And what I was just thinking of is again, I would at least just learn it's sounds like it's going, it's kind of like the S&P, it's going to be going up and to the right. Um, so yeah, just learn how to learn its patterns and learn how to profit off of those patterns. But at the very least, yeah.
right. Um, so you just came back from Nigeria, right?
Yeah, man. Yeah, I was there March, end of March to like June 11th, 12th. It's pretty
Okay.
wild. It was
Yeah.
great.
What are like the major differences that you see from Nigeria to the US? And you can hone it down to a specific city. What city did you go to, in Nigeria, or where you were primarily?
Sure. I was in so I mean everybody's heard of Lagos probably, so it had to that's where we touched down. And I was born in a smaller village called Warri. It's in Delta State. Um and so we spent some days in Lagos and then we were supposed to take a flight to Warri. Um yeah, we were supposed to take a flight to Warri, but they had a strike. They had a because it was about basically a compensation. People aren't being paid enough there, right? And so there was a countrywide strike, and all the airports were shut down. So
Mm.
we ended up taking a bus to the village where I was born. Um, saw my grandparents, and yeah, and then came back to Lagos. So I would say, in fact, we were supposed to go to another city too, but yeah, again, the whole airstrike, or the airstrike, the whole strike in the airports shutting down, rendered us unable to. But I would say the biggest differences were like, so they have rolling power outages. That's pretty probably common in a lot of. I don't know if Nigeria is considered a first world country, although Abuja, where we were going to visit, the capital of Nigeria, is very much a first world city. Um, and Lagos is maybe second world or something. Anyways, whatever. Um, so people like, ironically, I made Quickgredients available in Nigeria as well, just like on the App Store. Just because I knew I would be there and probably talk about it with my cousins and family and stuff like that, so they could check it out. Um, but I knew I was like, no one's gonna use it here because people in Nigeria don't care as much, or if you even at all, about like the kinds of foods that they're eating, right? Um or what's in it, right? Or whether and it's funny because again I mentioned how my mom is diabetic, my roommate is allergic to shellfish, but I have a brother who is lactose intolerant. So, Nigerians have these uh dietary needs for sure, but it's just not a thing there to like label foods as, you know, dairy free or vegetarian or something like that. So, um, it's a different market for sure. Um, but yeah, I guess beyond quick ingredients, like some other differences. Um, I think people are less by the book. It's more kind of just who you know there and like um yeah, like you can get certain like let's see. We, so there would be guards for like for example, like we stayed at an Airbnb and like all these places would have like guards and um like if you just so the guards would like search you, they could give you like a really bad time if they wanted to.
Hmm.
And but if you just paid them or if you knew them, then you'd be at like they wouldn't even mess with you at all, right? So that kind of thing where it's like either you got to have money or you got to know people. Otherwise, you'll probably get harassed. so, so, so that's another thing. Um, let's see. Yeah, I mean, a lot of generators and stuff because again, like there's power outages all the time. Um, but yeah, I think I might have to think a little bit more about some differences, but those are the main ones that come to mind right now.
I ain't gonna lie though, man. The way you described about the rolling blackouts, I mean, every summer here in Texas, I mean, for the couple years I've been here, we've been having a lot of like blackouts, a lot of generators. We
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. Someone was telling me how they had one like last, I think it was, yeah, this past week, or we met Saturday. She said it was on Thursday or Friday or something. How there was just a blackout in Houston. Yeah.
always blackouts. Like, um, it'd be the worst when there's blackouts on like the main streets because I feel like people here don't know how to drive in regards to when the lights just blink red. It's just like they don't move as you know how like ants move together and they like it's like when these lights are out, people just forget like they went to driving school. Like,
Hmm.
oh my God.
Yeah.
Like we should I don't know. It's like we should replace all of these four lights with a circle so that'll be actually more efficient, and that
Hmm.
wouldn't have to worry about blackouts at that point. At that point, you know what I'm saying? You wouldn't because we're relative, but that's my
Gotcha. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Roundabout. Yeah.
yeah, like a roundabout, yeah. Um, but yeah, that's like yeah. So when you was like rolling blackouts, I'm like that kind of sounds like Texas
Yeah, man. And that's why I'd even point out the weather difference because there ain't much of a difference between Nigeria and Houston, man. It's
for
hot.
real.
Yeah, man. It's hot both places. Um, Houston might even be more humid. Well, I don't use lotion. I can go without using lotion in Houston sometimes, but in Nigeria I definitely didn't need to use lotion. Like if you use lotion, you're just putting yourself in trouble because it's so hot and
Yeah,
like you'll just feel gross. Um, so I guess that's one thing. That's another thing, but it's not much of a weather difference. Yeah.
yeah. That's a good
I didn't.
point because like the past 2 weeks, I haven't really been putting on lotion during the day. Uh,
Yeah.
but I'll put it on at night because I do swim a lot, and I'm like I want to make sure
Okay.
I can. But like
Yeah. Yeah.
when it's cold, I normally put lotion on during the day, and then at night I don't put on any lotion.
Hmm.
But now I've been doing the opposite.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, man. That's it's the environment. But no, Nigeria was great. Um, I'm really trying to think of I just saw a lot of family and just a lot of places where we grew up. So I do want to eventually I mean I'm gonna go back. But I am thinking of like retiring there too. I guess that's like a lot of countries, right? It's a lot more affordable. So
hmm
and you can do the dollar really stretches there, even though you might end up like for your first couple months just paying off people to leave you alone, like I mentioned. But it really does stretch. It really does stretch there. So
yeah,
that was cool. And as long as at least in my case, I have family there and stuff. So that that really goes a long way too because like it being more of a who you know country, having family there means a lot. So,
hmm
anyways.
yeah. So are you when you go back home? Are you treated as like the relative who made it? Like this, he's made it. He's in America.
Yeah, dude, my cousins still asking me for money, man. like, like, nah, they're cool though. I love them, but they're like, um, I know a few of them like hit me up. They're like, "Yo, like, send me a gift or something." I'm like, "Bro, I honestly don't even got it like that right now because I'm working on this startup and stuff." But they're like, "Yeah, dude, wire me some money." I'm like, "Nah, bro." But yeah, no, that. It is what it is, Like, it's not a surprise at all. It's
Yeah,
but I like that they feel comfortable enough to ask me. I guess so.
yeah, yeah. That's cool. That's cool. So do you have you have a co-founder, right, for your app?
Yeah, yeah. Co-founder James, he's in Austin. So I'm building out like kind of the inventory in terms of food business menus and dishes in Houston, and he's doing the same in Austin. Doing
Mm,
that research, and we actually connected with. So I'm the chief product officer, kind of more the engineer building, but I do other things, of course, as well. And he's this chief executive officer, the CEO. So he's more of like sales, marketing, and he studied. Uh, he has a background in pharmacy. He has his PharmD, um, and health and life sciences over 7 years in that space. So he kind of brings more of that, I guess, domain expertise, and he's kind of leading our like we want to get a dietitian advisor, so he's kind of leading the recruitment on that end, um and yeah, I guess. Oh, right, that's what I was going to mention was we partnered with the Texas Restaurant Association. um I think their home base is in Austin, naturally. um so he's also managing a lot of those relationships. And we're going to they have like a trade show. So the Texas Restaurant Association is going to have this huge conference in San Antonio, July 4th. Yeah, in less than 2 weeks. Man, it's almost here. So I'm pretty excited about that because we're gonna be going. It's 2 days, so we got an Airbnb and we're just gonna you know pop out and show.
Kindred
you
reference.
know, yeah, man, got to drop that dime in there. But yeah, man, it's gonna be a good time. We've already developed some good relationships with. In fact, we're going for free. Typically, each these a ticket for each of us would have been like $390 or something. But we're going for free because we've just know the right people and they comped our tickets. So
Yeah,
um, yeah, so we're definitely looking forward to it and it should be a good time.
that's cool. That's cool. So how do you this gonna sound funny the way I ask this, but how do you manage a long distance relationship with your co-founder?
Man, I mean, we text like every day. So at the very least, it's almost like, again, it's a relationship, right? It's almost like people compare it to a marriage. So like, I think the last person I texted this much was like one of my ex girlfriends, right? Like, I text him more than I text. Actually, I think I texted more than yeah. I texted like ever texted any of my ex girlfriends. So we're always talking to each other about the business ideas, or even just life, man. He has a wonderful girlfriend. They actually just got back from Mexico City celebrating her birthday. So, we were in touch throughout, and of course, I was giving him, letting them enjoy himself, but keeping him updated at the same time of like what I was doing while he was out, and he does the same. Right, while I was in Nigeria, he was holding down the fort, and just we were. I was still doing some things because I was able to get Wi-Fi, for the most part in Nigeria, and it's also working on some things. But yeah, he was just we were just staying in the loop. We have an advisor as well. But yeah, like as far as managing a relationship, we meet like we have face to face virtual meetings every week, typically Monday afternoons, and then we just text throughout the day. We'll typically have meetings with other people, stakeholders or potential partners or collaborators, um, investors, even and stuff like that. So we'll have those as well throughout the week, and we meet with our advisor every other week, I would say as well. So um, definitely have frequent touch points.
Cool, cool. How did y'all meet?
We met on the Y Combinator co-matching or co-founder platform. Yeah. So they've
Oh,
got like you're aware of Y Combinator, right?
yeah.
And they've got this co-founder. It's kind of like Bumble for co-founders, and you just like talk about your idea, or if you're looking to partner with someone on their idea, right? So you just build your profile, um, and they'll send you some, a rolling list of matches, right? People in your area or out of your area, but in your industry, um, and whatever have you. So he was, yeah, just one of the matches, and I think he reached out, and I was like, yeah, we set up a meeting, had a call, and he is in Austin, so that was great because like I had some pretty good matches with other people, but they were in like Florida or California, which wasn't necessarily a problem, but um, him being in Austin are so much closer to where we could easily drive and see each other as we
Yeah,
needed to was perfect, right? So and then also because I'm familiar with Austin, I went to college there, um, and I wanted to have this startup like launched in at least two different cities, so not just entirely focused in Houston, but to at least have it in two different cities. And so that was just perfect, like Austin and Houston.
yeah,
It was just great, yeah. And yeah, we got along really well, um, and we're like the same age too, so it was just all perfect. And he had like the background and everything I was looking for. So
yeah. And Austin's a tech hub. I mean, it's the tech hub
yeah,
of
and it's a
tech.
exactly,
That's where most of your tech focused VCs are going to be.
yeah,
Probably,
right.
I would dare to say that probably most of your transplants who came from Cali who are VCs are probably
Mhm.
in either Austin or Dallas as well.
Absolutely. And the director of I graduated the Founder Institute back in May. The director of the Texas chapter is in Austin as well. So I've already introduced him to James or James to him. And yeah, like we're basically gonna try to leverage that and as we fundraise as much as we can, that environment, that startup ecosystem for sure.
Yeah, yeah. Um, there was I took this down. I'm not sure what it meant, but I wanted to ask you. You said where do you dine out without a doubt? I don't know.
Mm.
We was talking. We was doing a pre-interview, and that's one of the questions I wrote down. So tell me what that is. Dine out without a doubt.
Yeah, so I think you were the one I was talking to actually initially when we first coined that phrase "dine without limits." We're like, oh man, that's a nice slogan, right? That would be a nice slogan. So we started out using "dine without limits," but then we got our marketing advisor, and he cautioned us. He was like, "Hey, you don't want to um, over promise or over, say something that like you don't want to give people the wrong expectations, and down without limits it's a little vague, but it also just kind of is like, even though it's vague, it essentially means, like gives us kind of you can do anything, right? And so we didn't want to overpromise, or or mislead anyone. And so we refined that to dine out without doubt. And that's because our main focus is to help people who have these anxieties or these doubts whenever, based off of their dietary needs, whenever they're dining out, we want to make them, we want to reassure them and give them a little bit more confidence in the dining experience, right? Based off of, right, again, like by providing them with as much transparency as we can about the restaurants and the dishes or the menu options. So
Right.
that's where that comes from. Where have I dined without doubt? I mean, I don't have strict dietary needs myself. I mentioned my brief foray into the plant-based diet, which is is not it didn't last too long. Actually, briefly after I transitioned to a strictly plant-based diet, I actually went to Brazil to visit a friend, and Brazilian steakhouses, man. So that was actually the first place we ate out, was a Brazilian steakhouse. So I was like, yeah, this is my 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 endeavor into the plant-based diet
Yeah.
very quickly dissipated. Yeah, it
Yeah.
deteriorated after that.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I still do appreciate more I'd say now more plant-based diet or more plant-based foods. I try to, and that's the thing. So I think on the same documentary, I heard that, or it was explained that red meat is like carries these, makes you more prone to diseases, etc. And so they just kind of demonized red meat. And so I was like, all right, I'll cut out red meat. I'll eat, I still eat chicken and fish, your seafood. Um, but now I recently, um, there's a podcast. So I don't know how credible, a Netflix documentary and a podcast are, but ideally these guys are speaking from all these, more credible sources. Um, yeah, there's only so much you can do, but this podcast said like, oh, like red meat is actually, it's being like wrongly demonized. Like it's actually carries a lot of, uh, I guess the new, if it's, I think it's nutrients. Of course, people talk about proteins, but a lot of the nutrients that the human body needs. And also, if you just go about the plant based diet without knowing, um, without making sure that you're getting your vitamins and nutrients, then it will actually have negative effects on you instead of positive. So you do have to be very cautious and holistic about your approach to a more plant-based diet. Um, but in any case, I think again back to the question of where have I dined out without doubt. Um, the doubts again typically come from like, maybe some people might tell you something, but are they really practicing what they say in terms of cross contamination measures? Or maybe, do they have, for in terms of vegetarian, for example, like are they entirely vegetarian or is it some of their dishes? If you have a kosher diet, right, then that has its own guidelines. Are they certified kosher? Um, so again, since I don't really have any strict needs myself, I can just kind of speak to any place that I feel like I've dined at that made me comfortable about these things. And so one is Spoon and Sprout. They're actually a catering food business. But they've catered some of our events and they're entirely vegan. Um, they're entirely plant based, so there is no cross contamination. Um, and they're just super nice and friendly. They're great people. So um, I've definitely dined out without doubt with Spoon and Sprout. Um, and then yeah, we do have some certified places on our platform as well. Um, and then we speak to the chefs and the managers in the kitchen to learn about the cross contamination measures of all these other restaurants, so we can help other people. Ideally, they're telling us what they're telling other people, but then also living by what they say. I know with Harvest Kitchen, I can give them a quick shout out too. She actually like showed me their dedicated, gluten free prep stations, areas, and so yeah, we like to see it and then reflect that in the app as best as we can.
Got it. Got it. Um, Serious question. Has
Yeah,
anybody told you that you look like Burna Boy?
actually, yes.
You know, we all
Someone
look
said that.
alike. We all look alike anyway, so
Yeah, man. No, someone said that like, man, someone said that while I was in Nigeria, dude. So it's not even like oh like some random person, but like Burna Boy is Nigerian,
yeah.
and like a Nigerian told me I look like Brand World. So like it's different when someone from that area, from where you're from, says you look like this person, right? Versus someone who's just from any other place or ethnicity. So yeah, I guess I mean I gotta believe it now.
Y'all from the same tribe or like clan or not?
I'm gonna have to look that up real quick. I do not know. Um, Burner Boy, uh, tribe. Yeah, cause no. So I'm Urobo. He's from. Okay, he's Yoruba. So no, we are not. But close. River State. I'm from Delta State. So we're neighbors.
Yeah.
We're buddies, cousins, pretty much.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's cool. That's cool. Yeah, so I know we're right about time, but is there
Yeah.
anything else you wanted to the audience to know about Quick Ingredients? Is there anything you wanted them to do? Floor is all yours.
Well, I know that I mentioned some of our marketing tactics earlier and stuff like that. So we're rolling out we want to yeah, we're rolling out this deal where we're offering people, I think we're going to go with $50 or whatever, and basically you just dine out on us. All you got to do is download the app, share a meal that you've had or enjoyed, leave a review, and then you'll be eligible. We'll basically treat you to a meal, right? And what we want to do with that as well is like kind of capture your, like, it's a reaction thing. So um, if they're open to that, we'll ask first, and opening to just getting your reaction or whether you enjoyed the meal we treat you to. You pick the meal, and then we'll be able to better promote kind of uh, these restaurants and food businesses and the diets that they serve and what they do to make sure that they're serving the Houston and Austin communities. So that's that. I guess stay tuned for when that deal's coming out. And then you can follow us. All of our socials are on our website, quickgredients.com.
Cool, cool. Yeah, we'll provide a link to where they can download the app and participate in that special. But yeah, Godson, thanks for taking the time to meet, share your journey with Quick Ingredients. It was really cool opening. Maybe I may keep this in the edit, but talking about trading.
I like that too. Yeah, you should keep
So
it.
definitely should.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was nice.
Yeah, so I'll keep that in there. But yeah,
It's a good
everyone, thanks for
education.
joining us. My name is Corey Stay Trapping with Trap Talks, where we discuss the intersection of culture and tech. And Godson, this won't be the last time. We're gonna bring you back on, and I definitely want to like continue stay in touch and let me know how I can help. But yeah,
Yeah.
man, keep doing what you're doing, and I definitely think you're on to something.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I'd love to come back. It's been a joy to be featured and chop it up on a Tuesday afternoon with Corey and Stay Trap and a Trap Talks. So I guess stay trapping, y'all.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Cheers.
here.